Hello, this is RICKY, the Android guy. Today I'm going to be going over the side-by-side comparison to the Samsung Galaxy Tab 2 versus the iPad 2. So which one is the better two? We'll find out. Right off the bat, on the back we have a plastic but really nice metallic coating on the Samsung, whereas the iPad has the traditional aluminum. For the camera on the back, we have a 3 megapixel, whereas on the iPad we have a VGA camera. The exact measurement is 0.67. Now, in terms of speakers, the iPad has its traditional mono speaker right here on the bottom, whereas the Samsung has a brand new design that brought the front speakers to the front in stereo, so definitely better speakers. In terms of connections built in, the iPad doesn't have any except for the headphone port. Other than that, it doesn't have any connections besides the proprietary adapter on the bottom. Whereas the Samsung does have a proprietary adapter and does have a headphone port, but it also has some useful things like a micro SD card slot, as well as an IR blaster, which allows it to be a universal remote control for all of your TVs. Now, in terms of the two, of course, you know, software is always going to be a preference. You have a lot more customizable, as you can see right here on Android. I can turn on and off things right there on the screen. I can see the weather. I can see, you know, just kind of everything as it is. I can see a couple emails, calendar, everything right on the screen. On the iPad, you have a very simplistic look, but the one thing I've grown to kind of not like about the simplistic look is anyone could take an Android tablet and know where to find the apps in alphabetical order. Whereas on the iPad, if it's not your tablet and you're just looking for one of the apps, you know, you can go the search route and just search for the app, but you can't just make it in alphabetical order. I wish that Apple had something like an app drawer, like Android, where it could just make it easier like that. Just one thing I've noticed that I've just found annoying when comparing these iPads, that I just want to find an app and I have to either search for it or I have to kind of look through all of the sections to find it. Now, in terms of web browser, let's go right to it. Right. Now on the iPad I had it saved. On the Samsung it's just loading up the web page. One thing important to note about the iPad, of course, is it will not have flash capability. So on the Samsung right here, it will load full flash on the website, whereas this one it will not. Now, when that definitely is noticeable is that you don't have the best flash playback, say like when you're watching a YouTube video or something like that, embedded into the website. You generally can't play it because of flash content, and also just general flash websites that are more interactive. You can't go on any of them with the iPad 2, whereas you can with the Samsung Galaxy Tab. So, in terms of how they are, let's go kind of side by side. So both very responsive. Can't, there we go. For some reason when you circle sometimes the iPad it's not actually doing it, and now it's doing it. Okay, so in terms of how they move, they're both pretty comparable in their web browsing experience. I would say the iPad's a little bit faster, but very slight. Of course, that could be determined just because of the flash content. In terms of moving up and down in a website, well, yeah, again, it's mostly because of flash content. As you see, when it has to load it, is when the Samsung is lagging. However, if you turn this lag off, or if you turn the flash off, it will be a bit faster. So overall, in terms of web browsing, the iPad 2 is a little bit faster, slightly, but you do have full website just like you would on your desktop on the Galaxy Tab 2, so it would have a slight advantage with that. Now, in terms of the music player, let's go to music. And play.
boys and girls wanna hear a true story. Saturday night was at this real wild party. Flowing the cup, about 5, 6 strippers trying to work for a buck. Then I took one girl outside with me. Her name was Lonnie. She went to junior high.
So in terms of the players, I'm kind of hearing a little bit of crackling from the iPad. Now they're both at their loudest setting. Although the iPad, I definitely, like, if I lean towards the right, it sounds better. If I lean towards the left, it actually sounds like really muffly. And that's simply because of the mono speaker on one side, whereas the Samsung has stereo speakers on the front side. So it just gives you a much, not only richer kind of quality, but definitely you can hear it better. So that's going to be for that. Now in terms of video playback, let's go to the video. Check that out. And I'll put that.
War has started. We are hopelessly outgunned. Director Fury, I think it's time.
Alright.
You here with the mission, sir? Trying to get me back in the world? Trying to save it.
Doctor, I need you to come in.
What if I say no?
I'll persuade you.
What do you ask me to do? It's called the Avengers Initiative. I thought I didn't qualify. Apparently I'm volatile, self-obsessed, and don't play well with others. I think we need a timeout.
Alright guys, so I wanted to show the iPad in two ways. One was obviously in its normal widescreen, which basically cuts off the bottom and the top. And then the other way would be that, you know, when it's full screen and you can't see half of the picture. So either way, it's a 4:3 screen with a 16:9 ratio video. So you should choose your poison. You either get half of the screen taken off on the top and bottom, or you lose the left and right. So of course video playing is definitely going to be better on the Samsung, not only because of its ratio, but also just because of the clarity as well as the color and the speaker quality. It's going to be a lot better for video playback. Now in terms of cameras, so in terms of camera quality, both are going to be good, decent ones for as far as tablet cameras go. In terms of quality, definitely a little bit more goes to the Samsung, just because of its clarity. Especially you can notice it because you can actually see that the letters are engraved in the cup, whereas here it just kind of looks like it's slapped on at the top. Now it's more noticeable definitely in this one as well, where the color reproduction, you can actually see the colors are true to what the colors actually are on this one, whereas on here they're kind of a lighter, a little bit overexposed in comparison to it. As well as the blue, it's just a little bit more true because it is a lighter blue, whereas here it kind of turns into a darker one, where this one, all the other colors are actually dark compared to this. So overall, just the clarity and color wise, we'll go to the Samsung. For the camera, again, neither of them, the cameras, nothing to write home about. Now, in terms of price, these two tablets are priced at the same $399 for a 16 gigabyte model. The Samsung has a micro SD card slot, so it's going to have a little bit more advantage there. Now, in terms of categories, who's going to win which one? Alright, well, the look and feel, it is a preference, but overall, Samsung just has a new design and it feels good to hold for a long period of time, and it's not as slippery as the aluminum on the iPad. The iPad has just been disappointing in terms of design simply because it hasn't changed after 3 generations. It's the same exact design. Where Samsung did change from their previous model and did improve upon it. It has a nicer feel in terms of holding it and has a lot better speakers in terms of having in the front. In terms of web browsing, it's pretty close. They're both roughly the same speed, but overall it will go to the Samsung just for the flash capability. You can actually see every website just like you would on your desktop. In terms of gaming, it is kind of comparable. It's really hard to say, actually. The iPad, I would say, has more games available for it, simply because the Samsung is lacking in the hardcore games like Gameloft games, because Gameloft always falls behind when it comes to Android. When new tablets come out, they just don't make it compatible right away. Whereas since the iPad 2 is a much older model, you do have those games right from the get-go. So for gaming, you probably would go to the iPad for now. The one advantage the Samsung would have is that it has an external controller that you can use for gaming. But overall, it would go to the iPad for gaming. In terms of extras, it would go to the Samsung just because it actually has ports on it. You have a micro SD card slot and an IR blaster to be used as a universal remote control. In terms of music and movies, it will go to the Samsung Galaxy Tab, just simply for the fact the better stereo speakers on the front and a little bit brighter screen. Instead of the IPS screen that the iPad uses, the Samsung just has a much brighter screen that you can see outside. In terms of camera, it will go to the Samsung as well, just because it does have a nicer camera and definitely clearer, especially in terms of color reproduction. Now, the two last ones that'll go to Apple is going to be for accessories and simplicity. iOS in general just has very simplistic kind of feel, and though the Samsung probably has the most accessories out of any Android tablet, Apple just has definitely the accessories category down. And lastly, when it comes to price, it's really kind of it's hard to determine which one is the better bang for your buck. I would say simply because the Samsung has the expandable memory, so you can kind of get more out of it, and you can kind of get just a more updated system in terms of iOS being kind of the same for a while now. Android keeps changing to 4.0, so it's a newer operating system, and it's a lot more fluid compared to iOS. So overall, the winner between the two tablets would be the Samsung Galaxy Tab 2. Samsung Galaxy Tab 2 just takes the lead again, and just overall has more categories on its side. Alright guys, if you have any questions about this comparison, feel free to ask. This has been RCKY, the Android Guy.